Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today we are going to be doing what is, I think, my final video for 2025. We're going to be talking about all the stats from my reading and also some highlights from the year, some bookish moments and highlights from the year 2025, just to kind of close things out because I spend a lot of time working on a book spreadsheet so that I can get all of this information and I want to share it with you just because I think it's fun. I don't ultimately care about the numbers and how things all play out, but it is fun to kind of get an overview of my reading and kind of see the percentages of things. And so I think it's a little bit interesting. Maybe you will as well. So we're going to start with my total number of books for 2025 was 195. And this is, to me, proof that I don't care about the number. Because if I did, I probably would have pushed myself, read graphic novels or really short books in December so that I could get that number up to 200. Because 5 more books is all that I needed to get to 200. But I didn't even notice that I had read that many until I was near the end of the month anyway. I'm like, oh, here we go, 195. We're landing just short of 200, and that's okay. That equals out to be about 58,345 pages. But once we talk about how I consume these books, the pages doesn't really matter to me either. But for the sake of things, that's how many pages I think are about in the books that I read this year. The shortest book I read was a novella, maybe even a short story, because it was only 36 pages. And that's Evergreen Chase, which is part of the Shady Hollow mystery series. I read that in December. The longest book that I read apparently was Mad Ship. I think Mad Ship is the second book in the Live Ship Traders series. And according to Goodreads, it says it's 906 pages. I'm not sure that my copy was that long. And also I listened to it on audio. So, but that's the longest book I read this year. And the average length of pages in the books that I read in 2025 was 331, which tracks. Between 300 and 400 is usually the books that I'm reading. Here's what I really wanted to find out this year. I actually thought it was a little bit higher than this, but I'm talking about the format. So I have 4 options: audio, print, digital, or multiple. I didn't think I would have any in multiple, but apparently I started a book in print and then switched to audio once or twice because that's only 2.5%. Next highest is digital with 4%. Print was 15.5%, which leaves audiobooks was 78% of my reading in 2025. 78% is pretty high, but it tracks. I've just been in my audiobook era. It's my favorite way at the moment to consume books. I really like being able to crochet or do the dishes or go for a walk while I am listening to a book. I listen while I drive pretty much anywhere. I listen all the time. It's the way that I'm able to read 195 books a year because 78% of them were on audio. 93.8% of my reading is fiction and about 6% is nonfiction. I'm fine with that percentage. I think I would like a little bit higher nonfiction. We're going to see if I can make reading nonfiction every day a part of my of my reading this year. And if so, I would like to see if I could get up to 10% of my reading. But that's okay. It is what it is. This is just a reflection of what my reading looked like in 2025. For the audience, I read 68.19, so basically 68.2% was geared towards adults. YA is 6.56%, and middle grade was about a quarter of my reading. 25.25% of my reading was middle grade. That tracks as well, especially because I read 31 books in the month of March, and the majority of those, I think all but 2 of those were middle grade. So that's like 29, 30 books right there, which is a good percentage of my reading. I do read middle grade year round, but the majority of my middle grade reading obviously happens during middle grade March. I really loved the breakdown of genres this year. I think it really reflects that I read a lot of different types of things. So historical fiction was the highest with 24.3%. Second up was mystery with 22.1%, just behind historical fiction. Fantasy was 15.3%, and then contemporary was 14, and romance was 9.9. The other smaller categories are memoir, magical realism, Christian living, self-help, sci-fi. Those are the other categories represented. But I like that there's so many different genres on the wheel to begin with. That's very cool. My average rating for the year was 3.9, which I think it's fair. When in doubt, I give a book 4 stars if I really enjoyed it. So I had 33 5-star reads altogether, 94 4-star reads, 53 3-star reads, and then 14 2-star reads. This final stat is what I really love to see, because all of my goals ultimately are about reading the books that are on my shelves. I try every year to have the majority of what I'm reading be on my shelves. And I did so good this year. 85.6% of all of my reads in 2025 were books that I owned. I love that. 8.7 were from the library. This is other books that I listened to or went and borrowed from the library. And 4.6 were books that I had as a review copy, but I don't own the hard copy. I read on my Kindle. I enjoy seeing those numbers. I'm not really surprised by anything. Those are the stats. So now I have made a list of 10 highlights for the year. And I probably could have come up with more because a few of things I like smushed into one highlight. But the first highlight for me from 2025 is all of the trips or chances that I had to meet up with people in real life, especially my besties and our girls trip. This was our 5th year getting together. It was so much fun to go to Chattanooga this year and have a meetup with other people there as well. Get to meet some of you face to face for the first time, which is just really, really lovely. So the Chattanooga trip, the Minnesota trip, when I went in the late spring in May, I went to Minnesota with Amanda and Katie, my middle grade March crew, but we had a meetup there as well. And we met Cozy Reader Kelly, and Lindsay was there for her daughter's basketball tournament. Like, we just got to meet up with a lot of people in Minnesota that trip as well. Another sort of scheduled and planned and bigger meetup was in Raleigh. Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library and I went to Raleigh and we did a meetup there, which was really wonderful. The National Book Convention that I went to in DC, met up with a few people there. On my way home from my trip into Georgia, I met up with Michelle from Michelle Lynn Reads. It just has been such a fun year of getting to see online friends face to face. And I love it so much. I love it so much. It's really the best. It's really the best to get to meet people face to face. I would love to be able to meet all of you face to face someday, but I was able to meet a ton of people this year, and that was just really, really lovely. Really, really lovely. For my second highlight, I did mention already going to Raleigh with Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library. She also came here to Richmond for Independent Bookstore Day in April. So I got to spend like these 2 kind of extended periods of time with Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library. And she's just the most wonderful, encouraging new friend that I have because of Booktube, that I just loved the time that I got to spend with her this year. Love that girl. Love her. Number 3, I put, and these are not ranked, by the way. My third highlight is our virtual reading retreat that my besties and I host. We did just one last year in the summer, and it's just always lovely to get to see people face to face. Again, it's this connection that is the highlights to me are anytime that I get to have this extra connection with people. I'm noticing that those are the things that I just really love the most about having this channel. And so that virtual reading retreat, we got to have 50 people on a Zoom, spending 24 hours together and just connecting over books and bookish chats and crafting and laughing and having a good time together, getting recommendations, just really having the best time. And I love doing those retreats. And I love that so many of you love them as well. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me again in 2025. For number 4, I put my patrons. I just love them. I didn't even put any details. I'm like all the things about my Patreon. I just love this group of people so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Huge thank you to over 100 of you who are following me and supporting me through Patreon. It just means so much to me that you give extra money and time to connect with me. You have been encouraging to me in so many different ways, and just we've had such good times laughing together, little extra challenges here and there, connecting monthly with some of my tiers, getting recommendations from you, and just any chance that I have to connect with my patrons has just been the best. And I know lately we've had quite a handful of new people joining. Thank you so much. And I hope to get to know you as this new year starts as well. My Patreon is a big highlight for me. I have loved it so much. And my patrons have truly become friends for me in so many different ways and are gracious when I forget things and patient with me when we're having technological issues. And yeah, just been a really, really wonderful community, an extension of this corner of the internet. And I'm really a big fan. And if you're ever considering being my patron, the link is always in my descriptions. Absolutely no pressure. I'm not stopping anything here on my main channel, but I do love getting to connect with you. So if you've ever considered it, check out the link and see what we're all about over there. For number 5, I put all the readathons that I have a hand in. So Middle Grade March, obviously, is top tier. One of my favorite readathons. I'm so thrilled to be a part of that with Katie and Amanda. And I love hearing people trying middle grade again when they haven't since they were young, or maybe they weren't readers when they were little. So they're revisiting all these books that they never got a chance to, or just exploring middle grade as an adult and finding the joy of so many of these wonderful books. Middle Grade March is fantastic. Catch-up-a-thon that I hosted this year with Amy from Amy's Bookish Life and Destiny from Desi Reads. We have so much fun creating a unique twist on a readathon and reading our Book of the Month books. I no longer subscribe to Book of the Month, but I do still have a shelf. It's like the one that you can't see off screen here of a ton of Book of the Month books. So that will be coming back again this year. Series September, I host with Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. And we have loved just doing a simple, it's very low key. Actually, it's kind of the trademark of all of these readathons is that they're very easy to participate in. We want the door wide open for you just to read 1 or 2 books within the framework and you're good to go. So Series September has been a big boon for me every year in completing and making progress in the series. And I love gearing up for that with Sarah and getting to talk with her a little extra about that. I'm still getting over this cold. My throat doesn't love all the talking. But speaking of Sarah, we also hosted an Ember in the Ashes read-along this past year. We started in June, July, August, September, and October. We read a book together with a slew of you in the Ember in the Ashes quartet, and then the new one, Air, that just came out in 2025 by Sabat Tahir. And we had so much fun on those lives and connecting with other people who were reading this fantasy series. And many of you have never read fantasy before. And just a lot of people really enjoyed that, especially Sarah and I. We just had a blast with that read along. While that Ember in the Ashes read along was happening, I learned that Sabat Tahir was going to be at a book festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I chatted with some people that I met during the Raleigh meetup earlier in the year and was able to go to this festival with them. They graciously shared their hotel room with me, and the 3 of us got to hang out during the day, and I got to hear Sabat Tahir talk when I was just in the midst of reading. It was all very fresh on my mind. It was very, very cool. The Winston-Salem Book Festival, they do a wonderful job. It was they had some great authors there that I got to hear, and it was really cool connecting with Kat and April and just having the best time. I love a good book festival. I love getting to hear authors, and I love getting to meet up with people. So it was like a perfect combination, that little festival. And kind of paired along with that, I already mentioned earlier, was the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C. Again, another opportunity that I had to listen to some authors speak and connect with some of you and just be surrounded by bookish people all day. It's just so much fun. I really love it. Number 8, I put Reading Theo of Golden. I put this as a highlight because it's not very often, it's not every year that I find a new favorite of all time book. A book that's going to go on that list, that very small list, which I don't even really technically have a favorite of all time book list. But Theo of Golden is on it. Whenever that list gets created, that book left such a big impression on me. And then the fallout of me raving about it all the time is hearing so many of you picking it up and reading it and trying it and loving it. It just makes my heart so happy. I'm like, I am a book influencer. I mean, I'm kind of in that pocket of the world, right? That pocket of content creating. But to hear you actually reading this book that was so meaningful to me and also loving it is just, it's definitely a highlight of my year. I just love it so much. For number 9, we're going to talk about nonfiction for a second. I know already I said I would like to read more nonfiction in 2026, but I did read more in 2025 than I have in previous years. Partly that was because of the quarterly read-alongs that I've done here on the channel, and that's a highlight for sure. Reading a Christian nonfiction read-along with some of you and having those lives and like kind of deep diving into some books. But also the 75 medium that I did last winter, one of the parts of that challenge was to read 10 pages of a nonfiction every day. I think I shortened that to be 10 minutes of nonfiction every day, but regardless, it got me reading more nonfiction early in the year. And I wish the momentum kind of kept up with that. This year, I'm hoping to keep up the momentum beyond the 75-day challenge. But I did read more than in previous years. And for that, it is a highlight of my 2025. And finally, number 10 is not anything actually connected with this space, but my in real life book club, which is what we call it, with my church girls. We get together once a month. And we don't read the same book, but we pick a theme, basically a prompt from any readathon, just a prompt for the month. And we read a couple books or one book even about that fits that prompt and then share it with each other. And if we liked it or not, and we get recommendations from each other, we have lunch together. And the last time it was my turn to pick the place, I invited them here and we did soup and a craft as well as talk about our books. And that was just really lovely. But I love these girls, and getting to connect with them outside of the church setting, I think is really special. Reading is something that we all love to do. And I also love that I'm not obligated to read a specific book, that we can read whatever we want and just share something that fits with the prompt that we've decided. So 2025 was a wonderful year. I know there was a lot of hard moments for a lot of people in 2025. But as far as my reading world is concerned, 2025 was fantastic. I'm glad that I was able to come up with some highlights. I love kind of reflecting back on the year. I probably could have made a list even longer than that, but I'm getting old and my memory is not that great. But I would love to hear one or two of your highlights from your reading year in 2025. What's something that you think back on fondly, whether it was a book that you loved or a bookish moment that you got to have throughout the year, or just reading in general? What is a highlight of your 2025 reading year? I would love to hear that down in the comments. Thank you so much for sticking around for the stats and the highlights today. I am really pleased to be wrapping up 2025 and like diving full on into 2026. And I think I've said 2025 2,025 times in this video. And if you're not feeling chatty, or you can't think of any highlights from the year, go ahead and put the firework emoji down in the comments just to let me know that you were here. I love getting to see who is here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Let's make 2026 another fantastic reading year. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you are too. I'll talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.